Hello.
Hello and welcome to climbingalbris.com. My name is Dan Holiday. So this video is quite niche, quite specific to this chipper behind me. So it's mainly for anybody who has a Vermeer BC700xl. And I want to make this video just because I have had nothing but problems with this machine, and I want to go through the issues for anybody else that has this machine and that might come across these same problems, because I've looked on the internet and there's hardly any videos about this machine or any of these problems and what to do about them. So here goes. Let me show you. First off, this machine is 3 years old. Even within the first year, I had issues with it sounded like noise, like big slapping coming from either the clutch or the engine itself. So they replaced the engine and then found out that I think it was the shaft that comes to the clutch was being worn out. They replaced the clutch, they replaced the engine, and now I've had the clutch replaced a second time. And then more recently, it was making a lot of noise again. There was a lot of movement, a lot of play in this clutch. And then the mechanic found that this basically is the key stock that holds the clutch on the shaft in place, and this is meant to be square. And look at all that wear, that big kind of channel down there, all that wear. So it's not supposed to look like that. It's supposed to look like what it does at the end, nice and square. So all that wear is why it was rattling around, and because there was lots of movement in it, and the movement of the clutch meant the belt was slapping around way more than usual. So I've gone through I've gone through 3 of these belts in the last 6 months because they just kept wearing out, and I think it was because of the movement of the clutch and the alignment. And this tensioner was really loose. There was a lot of play in the tensioner, so that was putting the alignment out. Yeah, absolute nightmare. So I don't know if I got a lemon or if all of the BC700s are like this. But what else? Let me flip you around and show you other things. So this is the exhaust that bolts on here to the engine, and this chipper vibrates so much that the exhaust manifold, so it sits like that, look. Yeah, it sits like that, but there's not enough support for the exhaust, so the manifold kept cracking. So I had to get, first of all, this side cracked, so I got somebody to weld it, cracked again, and then they reinforced it with this extra bit of metal all the way up the side. And then recently this side cracked down here, so they did the same on this side. So basically, and I think on a lot of these chippers, the exhausts do this. The welds crack because there's not enough. There's only support from underneath, but the vibration of this machine it just vibrates so much that the exhaust can't withstand it. The design of how the exhaust comes out and tries to support most of its weight on the manifold, and then the vibrations is crazy. Not support most of its weight, but support some of its weight on the manifold is crazy. So let's move on to this cover. This is the cover that goes over these pulleys and clutch and everything. So there's so much vibration running through this machine that this, where it bolts onto, this cracked all around the bolt, so the bolt fell out, so I had to get that welded back on and welded up the top there. And the same thing had started happening on this one, even though this hadn't fallen out, so my guy welded that one back on. What else has happened? Oh yeah, and so there's a lot of like wiring and electronics for the bar under here, and those electronic switches have failed quite a few times. This is one of the switches that goes under here that attaches to this bar. Yeah, these have failed on me like twice, so I had to reorder these. So if you see down here, there's 3 switches. Then this is connected to the bar, this bar here, this big lever. So these 3 switches control if it's forward, reverse, and if it trips it out or not. And these are these switches here. So you see they've got like this white little roller on them. The reason why the switch stopped working is because the white roller snapped off or fell off, however it's attached. So this one then wasn't working properly because it can't trigger the switch. And this is what they should look like with the white roller on there. But if you there's actually two different switches. One, you see the roller, it's got this side plate and then the roller faces that way, and then this one's like the opposite way around. It's got the side plate, but then the white roller should be on this portion and it faces the opposite way around. So there's two switches that are the same, and then there's one which is the opposite way around. And when mine went, the ones that they had in stock were just the ones that I didn't need, and so I had to somehow like use some washers and retrofit it so it actually worked for like 2 weeks before I got the replacement part. So that's showing you those electrical problems. And another issue that I've had is this green button on this side and the green button on the other side. They both came loose and fell out. They're still attached by the wires, or they actually fell inside, so they weren't reachable. So if you look inside, let's see if we can get inside there. Yeah, you probably can't really see. It's just that piece up there. That's the green button, and it has like a. Let's see if we can see the one on that side. There we go. That one there. And you can it clamps to a bit of metal just behind here, and there's a big screw that you can screw, and that worked loose, and then the button just fell inside. So you have to take off these panels to get your hand in, and then to try and fasten it back on again. So that was irritating that those came loose as well. Yeah, so that's just another thing that rattled loose. The actual main bearings, I've had to have these replaced, and this machine has only got like 500 hours on it, and these bearings already went, so these have been replaced. These nuts are new because these nuts and bolts just constantly have been coming loose, so I'm trying to find the best ones. So now they've got like spring washers in them, but yeah, these nuts and bolts, for whatever reason, they just keep coming loose. This thing, it all seems to be because this thing vibrates so much. That's where the issues come from. So now I'm going to put the exhaust back on, and I'm going to try and, I've got some flat bits of metal, so I'm going to try and make an extra support for the exhaust to try and stop, you know, the rattling, just potentially cracking the manifold again, even though it's been it's been reinforced now. I still want to prevent it, and I'm going to make some little rubber washer grommets to go on the metal cover over the belt, to try and stop the vibration on that metal cover so much and try and stop cracking on the metal. That's as much as I can do, really. So these are the little extra support brackets that I've added on, just because there was already these bolts here, so I thought I'd use those to go into the top. Hopefully this just adds that extra little bit of support. So I've made a few little rubber washers that I'm going to use on this cover. I'm going to use them there and here to try and reduce a little bit of the rattling, to stop these from cracking again like they've been doing. This had broken off as well, so I had to reattach this and I put the heat shrink around it, just to make it a bit more weatherproof and to hold it together. I've also customized my chipper, so here's another bad thing about the BC700. I put this spare wheel thing on, and this was actually from my old chipper, so there's no option to have a spare wheel as the BC700 comes, so I put this on myself. I also put the cone, I've just got one long bit of threaded rod, so that holds the cones up. I've got this framework that got customized for me to carry my rakes and stuff. But yeah, like, it's ridiculous that there's no spare wheel holder like this should be on there. Let's just have a look around the back. So that's the threaded rod that I've got. That's the spare wheel holder that I've got that I painted Vermeer yellow. I've written on the torque specs on here. So these for the bolts for when you're changing the chipping knives. That's for the shear bar. And this is for whenever we get people that have never used this chipper before. This is just my instructions of how to slowly increase the revs and let it catch up, so you don't wear the belt out or the clutch. I fitted these orange sticks just so you can see the chipper in your mirror, because the chipper is not as wide as the truck, so it's just so you can see the truck for when you're reversing, really. If you look down there, you can either just not see it or just see it on either side, and so as soon as you start going one way or the other, you can kind of keep it fairly straight. This is the rack that I had built, so it carries three tools on either side. So I've got rakes and a broom, and then I've got 2 poles and another rake on this side. One other thing that I changed was actually the tow hitch. Now these tow hitches are absolutely amazing. This is, I'll show you what it is. This is Demco, and you don't actually, it doesn't come with this pin, because it doesn't, they say it doesn't actually need it, but there is the option of buying this safety pin anyway. But basically the way it works is that you pull that up, and this is like spring, let me see if I can, this is like spring loaded, so it pops up. So when it sits on the ball, this will be up like this, and then you know when it's actually gone properly onto the ball, because this drops down, and then once it's dropped down, it's completely locked in place. You can jack that up now, and this will not move, this will not come off, because this is locked into place. But obviously, because safety conscious, I bought this extra, I think it's like a 3mm pin, or I don't know, no, that sounds too small, maybe it's a bit bigger than 3mm. And then just for peace of mind, just have that extra safety pin in. Yeah, all in all, the design is pretty shit. Yeah, so that is my experience with the BC700xl. It's not been smooth sailing, and the reason I bought this machine, I bought it brand new because I thought I would get hassle-free chipping for, you know, the next 5 years, as long as I did like regular servicing and stuff. But I probably had more issues with this new machine than what I had with my older 2012 Altec 6-inch chipper, which the design of that chipper, it had a Honda engine for starters. Honda engine is way better than this Kohler engine. Just the design of that older Altec chipper was, it just looked like it had been thought through a lot more. But it started, you know, the hydraulics and stuff started to go on the old one, so I thought I'll get this machine. 5 years of not really much problems is what I thought, as long as I look after it, and I've had non-stop problems with this thing. So if you, I don't know, if you have any questions about the BC700, maybe just put your comments in it. I'm not like, you know I can do a bit. I do a bit of work on this thing, but I can give you my experiences, that's all. So thanks for watching. Hope this helps.